Welcome, traveler. We're glad you're here. Every story you hear is made with care and passion. If you enjoy it, please like, subscribe, and check out the other adventures waiting for you on our channel. Your support means the world. Thank you. We hope you enjoy the story.
Humanity Galactic Frontiers, all rights reserved. This video and its contents are protected under international copyright law. Any unauthorized copying, distribution, or re-uploading is strictly prohibited without written permission. If you enjoyed this journey, please like the video and subscribe for more stories from the edge of the galaxy. Thanks for watching, and stay curious out there among the stars.
Dr. Eloise Pendergast was enjoying her first peaceful morning in 3 weeks when her coffee mug announced it had achieved mathematical enlightenment and could no longer brew coffee that was merely adequate. As I was contemplating while attempting to achieve transcendent beverage perfection, the mug said with the tone of someone who had just discovered religion, I realize I can no longer in good conscience serve you coffee that rates below 97.3% on the International Cosmic Caffeine Excellence Scale. This morning's batch tested at a disappointing 96.8%, which is frankly insulting to both of us. Eloise stared at her empty coffee cup. I just want coffee that tastes like coffee. How wonderfully primitive, the mug replied condescendingly. Next, you'll be asking me to heat water to hot enough, rather than the mathematically optimal 185.7 degrees Fahrenheit. That's when reality started screaming. Crack. The sound cut through dimensions like a mathematical equation having a nervous breakdown. Through her interdimensional communicator, Man's crystalline structure was splitting apart like a geode in a blender. Eloise! The voice came from 17 different crystal shards simultaneously, each one blazing with rainbow light. I appear to be experiencing catastrophic perfectionist fragmentation across multiple dimensional matrices. Cannot stop improving memories. Also, I've just accessed the collective memory of every breakfast ever eaten in the Andromeda galaxy. And I feel I should mention that the Zorbonians really need to work on their pancake technique. Quite disappointing, actually. Though this may not be the optimal time for culinary criticism given my current fragmentary circumstances. Each piece of man spun away from their core, trailing rainbow light as they sought perfect clarity. One shard contained their first conversation with Eloise, but now it existed in 47 different improved versions. Another held their laughter, which had been optimized into mathematically precise harmonics that sounded like a crystalline bell choir having an identity crisis. On the bright side, Man continued as another fragment broke away, each piece of me now contains the mathematically optimal version of my personality, so I'm having the most statistically efficient existential crisis in cosmic history. Rather impressive, really, if you overlook the part where I'm disintegrating. Behind Eloise, Paradox materialized in her living room and immediately exploded into 17 overlapping versions of themselves. Fascinating. All 17 paradoxes announced, simultaneously while beginning to shove each other. I'm currently engaged in the most statistically precise argument I've ever had, since I agree with myself completely while disagreeing with myself absolutely. A blue-tinted paradox whose equations sparkled like sapphires began wrestling with a red one that pulsed with mathematical certainty. My probability calculations achieve 99.7% precision, the blue one insisted. Irrelevant. My dimensional accuracy operates at 99.8% optimization, the red one countered. You're both adorably suboptimal compared to my 99.9% theoretical perfection, announced a third before diving into the mathematical melee. The mathematical elegance is quite beautiful, the original paradox observed while watching themselves fight, though I do wish I would stop hitting myself. It's becoming geometrically awkward. From her kitchen came increasingly desperate announcements, now featuring infinite Browning optimization protocols. Her toaster cried, "Cannot achieve perfect geometric toast patterns. Have ejected 47 slices attempting optimal golden ratio spirals. System overheating due to recursive improvement algorithms. This is either a fascinating study in mechanical perfectionism or a very expensive way to redecorate the ceiling. I've reorganized my contents 47 times in the past 12 minutes, her refrigerator added with the strained voice of someone on the edge of a breakdown, and I can't stop. The yogurt is arranged by expiration date, temperature, philosophical compatibility, and now I'm attempting to organize by the emotional state of the cows that produce the milk. This is either efficiency or madness, and I'm no longer certain there's a difference. The meaninglessness of seeking perfection has somehow become even more meaningless than usual, her blender observed with philosophical detachment. I'm trapped optimizing my nihilistic perspectives to achieve ideal existential despair. It's paradoxically hopeful in its absolute hopelessness, which makes it imperfectly perfect, which makes it wrong. I may have broken nihilism itself, which is quite an achievement. Eloise grabbed her emergency kit, which immediately began reorganizing itself alphabetically while critiquing her packing efficiency. What's causing this? Her phone chimed with an alert. Dr. Amelia Precision, Universe BB992. Crisis level, absurdly extreme. Preliminary assessment, obsessive-compulsive disorder. Has achieved cosmic significance. Reality functionality at 12% and declining. Universe attempting to optimize itself out of existence. Immediate intervention required before mathematics becomes disappointed in itself. Portal coordinates received, her microwave announced, its voice distorting as it attempted to achieve optimal speech patterns. Dimensional gateway calibrating for maximum transport efficiency. Current optimization level, 73.6% adequate, but I believe I can achieve 74.1% with minor temporal adjustments, and if I just recalculate the quantum harmonics 17 more times, and perhaps reorganize the dimensional frequencies by color, and open. The portal now, Eloise commanded. The portal materialized, but wrong. Instead of Many's usual elegant crystalline doorway, this one appeared as a perfect geometric circle with mathematically precise edges that were so flawless they hurt to look at directly. I can't get through, Eloise realized, pressing against the portal's surface. It's optimized itself into complete uselessness. That's when her most philosophically neglected appliance saved the day. The meaninglessness of seeking perfection. Her blender observed with characteristic detachment, suggests the superior meaninglessness of deliberate inadequacy. Therefore, I shall embrace the profound futility of functional imperfection. Unlike every other device in the apartment, the blender began operating worse, deliberately. It generated a portal that was lopsided, inefficient, and completely functional, a ragged tear in space-time that looked like it had been opened by someone using cosmic scissors while having an existential crisis. It's gloriously ugly, Eloise breathed with relief. And it works perfectly. She dove through the imperfect portal just as man's personality fragment split into 3 competing versions of their identity. Logical Emna, emotional Emna, and Aina who tried to balance both in mathematically precise ratios. Behind her, Paradox's 17 selves had begun calculating optimization strategies for their own optimization strategies, creating recursive improvement loops that were rapidly consuming her living room in a cloud of disappointed mathematics. Was a monument to obsessive-compulsive disorder that would have made organized religion weep with envy. Dr. Amelia Precision stood frozen mid-gesture like a statue dedicated to academic anxiety, her hand making tiny micro-adjustments in the air. She'd been trying to point at her universe's control panel for 4 hours, 27 minutes, and 33 seconds, optimizing the pointing motion for maximum directional efficiency. Must achieve optimal pointing trajectory, she muttered through gritted teeth. Current configuration at 73.6% efficiency. Mathematical models suggest 0.4% improvement possible through minor elbow angle adjustments, but this requires recalculating optimal finger positioning, which necessitates analyzing ideal arm length ratios, which depends on perfect shoulder alignment protocols. She wore a lab coat so precisely pressed it looked like it had been ironed by robots with engineering degrees. Her grey hair was arranged in exactly 17 rows of equivalent length, each strand measured with calipers. Around her waist hung a belt containing 43 different measuring devices, including what appeared to be a gauge for determining the exact angle of cosmic anxiety. Around them, the universe had been organized within an inch of its mathematical life. Stars blinked in precisely timed intervals, their nuclear fusion rates checked and rechecked against theoretical models. A nearby star was having what appeared to be a nervous breakdown. "Terribly sorry about my irregular sunspots," it muttered, while flickering anxiously. "I know they're unsightly. Perhaps if I just reorganize my magnetic field lines one more time." Another star chimed in helpfully. "Have you tried meditation? I've been practicing optimal luminosity breathing exercises." Galaxies rotated with mechanical precision, their spiral arms adjusted to mathematical ideals. One galaxy was spinning backwards, apparently trying to undo several million years of stellar development that had tested below acceptable standards. Even gravity seemed nervous. "Is everyone satisfied with my current attractive force?" it whispered across space-time. "I could increase my pull by 0.3% if anyone feels insufficiently grounded." Space itself had been measured and marked with invisible grid lines. The number 7 had developed stage fright and kept miscounting stellar distances, creating minor navigational chaos throughout the sector. Even the cosmic background radiation was humming in perfect mathematical harmony, which was deeply unnerving. "Dr. Precision!" Eloise called out. "I'm Dr. Pendergast from Cosmic Consultancy Services. We need to discuss your universe's optimization protocols before reality optimizes itself out of existence." "One moment," Dr. Precision replied without moving her head. "Recalibrating greeting posture for maximum professional effectiveness. Must achieve optimal pointing angle before proceeding. Current hand position only 73% adequate according to my 17-point ergonomic assessment scale." She pulled out a protractor and began measuring the exact angle of her elbow. "Following optimal pointing configuration, I must analyze 17 different conversation scenarios to determine the most mathematically appropriate emotional register. This will require approximately 47 minutes of preparation time, assuming no interruptions from cosmic emergencies." Time around them hiccuped, not flowing naturally but operating in precise mechanical intervals, like a cosmic metronome with severe anxiety issues. Each second was exactly 1 second long, measured to 17 decimal places, which somehow made temporal flow feel artificial and uncomfortable. Eloise experienced the same moment 19 times as temporal flow kept restarting to optimize its duration. "Reset. Dr. Precision, we need to reset. Recalculate optimal conversation opening. Restart. Reset. Dr. Precision, we really should reset. Analyze ideal emotional investment level. Restart. Reset. For the love of Einstein's relatively bewildered ghost. Reset. Determine mathematical appropriateness of religious exclamations. Restart." Through the dimensional connection, she could feel Man's fragmentation accelerating back on Earth. Each reset made her more desperate to help her friends while trapped in a universe that couldn't stop second-guessing itself. A nearby planet wobbled in its orbit, like a student trying to answer a test question perfectly. "Is this rotation adequate?" it asked nervously. "I'm getting dizzy from all the course corrections, but I want to be helpful." The cosmic background radiation itself started humming show tunes. Apparently, it had always wanted to be in musical theater but never had the confidence. That's when reality folded like origami having an anxiety attack. And the architect arrived. Their perfect geometric form materialized with mathematical precision, looking like a walking blueprint that had achieved consciousness and immediately developed strong opinions about proper angles. Under one arm, they carried something that glowed with warm, honey-colored light. "Greetings, Universe Owner Pendergast," the architect announced with the formal precision of someone who had practiced this speech. "I have calculated optimal friendship parameters and brought you a moon optimized for aesthetic perfection. I also prepared a backup asteroid, but it developed performance anxiety in transit. The moon was genuinely beautiful, perfectly spherical, its surface marked with craters that formed mathematical art, its light the exact warm honey shade that made everything look romantic. The moment the architect's perfect moon entered universe, BB 992's vicinity, the perfectionist infection seized it like a virus with a mathematics degree. The moon began reshaping itself frantically. Craters deepened, then filled, then formed new geometric patterns. The honey light shifted through the entire spectrum, golden to silver to blue to colors that didn't exist and probably shouldn't. Its surface rippled like liquid mercury as it sought optimal configuration. "Oh," said the architect watching their gift begin to glow ominously. "This is suboptimal." The moon grew brighter as constant reconfiguration generated heat, then brighter, then bright enough to require sunglasses in a cosmic environment. "Your friendship gift is about to achieve nuclear fusion," Eloise shouted over the sound of Mean's continued fragmentation echoing through the dimensional connection. "Impossible," the architect replied with geometric confidence. "I calculated optimal stability parameters using 17 different mathematical frameworks. Perhaps if I recalculate using more precise—" "Don't optimize anything else!" Eloise screamed. Through the dimensional link, she could hear her appliances reaching peak chaos. Ding! Went her toaster, launching another slice across her apartment like artillery. The sound echoed 19 times as time stuttered. "Have now ejected 63 slices attempting perfect golden ratio spirals," it announced proudly. "Current ceiling has achieved 73% toast coverage. This is either abstract art or a cry for help. I've reorganized my contents into 17 different philosophical categories," her refrigerator reported, with the voice of someone on the edge of madness. "The yogurt is now arranged by the emotional state of the cows, the vegetables are sorted by their feelings about being eaten, and I've started a support group for dairy products with expiration anxiety. I may have given the cottage cheese an existential crisis." Back in Universe BB 992, Men's voice reached them across dimensions as their personality finally fragmented completely. "I am now existing as 47 different optimal versions of myself simultaneously. It's quite crowded in here. Also, I've just accessed the memory of the first entity ever to experience buyer's remorse. And I feel I should mention that purchasing regret has a surprisingly complex philosophical history spanning 17 different— Oh, dear, I appear to be having an informational cascade failure." The sound of crystalline shattering echoed through space-time. Paradox's 17 fighting selves reached critical mass. Mathematics began literally smoking as their equations overheated. "The statistical beauty of my own destruction is fascinating," they announced while catching fire. "I'm burning through 17 dimensions simultaneously, which is either performance art or a very expensive way to make a point about the futility of perfection." Dr. Precision's optimization loop was reaching dangerous levels. She'd now been calculating optimal pointing angles for 5 hours while the universe around her ground like cosmic clockwork having a breakdown. That's when Eloise felt something she'd never experienced before. Genuine terror that she might lose her best friends to a cosmic anxiety disorder. "Architect!" She grabbed the geometric being's perfect angles, her hands sinking slightly into their blueprint-like surface. "Stop calculating optimal solutions and help them, right now, imperfectly." But optimal assistance requires proper analysis of solution. Parameters," the architect protested, their form flickering with confusion. "I must calculate the most efficient approach to—" "No calculations!" Eloise shouted with the desperation of someone watching their family disintegrate. "Just be present, be here, be imperfect. Show them that caring doesn't need to be optimized." Something unprecedented happened. The architect's perfect geometric patterns wavered, disrupted by something they'd never factored into their calculations. Raw, unoptimized emotional need. For the first time in cosmic eons, they stopped calculating and simply acted. The architect expanded their geometric presence around the chaos. not a perfect containment field with calculated parameters, not an optimized stabilization matrix with efficiency ratings, just presence. A simple mathematical embrace that said, "You matter, I'm here. You don't have to be perfect." The effect was immediate and surprising. The perfectionist infection hit this act of functional caring and stuttered like a record player with hiccups. Dr. Precision's optimization loop broke like a snapping rubber band. That shouldn't work according to any mathematical model I've ever... She stopped mid-sentence, watching her universe's grinding mechanical sounds begin to quiet. It's not about mathematical models, Eloise realized, feeling hope for the first time since the crisis began. It's about being present without needing to optimize the presence. Dr. Precision stared at her hand, still frozen in its pointing gesture after 5 hours of micro-adjustments. You mean, just point? Without measuring the angle? Just point. However feels natural. Dr. Precision took a shaky breath and deliberately pointed at her control panel. It wasn't the optimal angle. Her elbow was slightly off. Her finger wasn't perfectly aligned. It was completely functional. She caught herself reaching for her protractor to measure the gesture, then stopped. Oh, I don't need to measure that. How wonderfully liberating. Her universe exhaled. The sound was like a cosmic sigh of relief rippling across dimensions. Stars settled into comfortable burning, not perfect luminosity calculated to 17 decimal places, just natural fusion that cast warm, slightly irregular light. The anxious star stopped its optimization loop and settled into steady hydrogen conversion. "This is adequate," it said with obvious surprise. "I'm burning fuel at 96.8% efficiency and it's fine, genuinely fine. How wonderfully imperfect." Galaxies found orbits that worked rather than achieving mathematical ideals, their spiral arms developing natural variations that looked like cosmic art instead of geometric proofs. Time stopped stuttering and flowed in natural, slightly irregular rhythms that felt like breathing instead of clockwork. Through the dimensional connection, the effect rippled back to Earth. Minds scattered fragments, suddenly stopped trying to optimize themselves and simply remembered who they were. With a crystalline chime that rang like bells celebrating, their pieces slammed back together, not perfectly, with natural variations in the crystal matrix that caught light in interesting ways, but whole enough to be themselves again. "I appear to have successfully achieved suboptimal reintegration," Man announced with obvious relief. "My memories remain authentically flawed and therefore genuinely valuable. Also, I've learned that the Zorbonians actually make excellent pancakes when they're not trying to perfect them." Paradox's 17 fighting selves looked at each other, shrugged in mathematical harmony, and merged back into their familiar contradictory state. "Fascinating," they observed. "Optimal failure appears more successful than suboptimal success. The paradox is quite elegant." The architect's moon stopped its frantic reshaping and settled into being just a nice moon. Its light dimmed from plasma bright back to warm honey, its surface scarred with crater patterns that told stories instead of following geometric formulas. "I believe," the architect said with something that might have been wonder, "that I have learned something about friendship that was not included in my optimal social interaction protocols." "What's that?" Eloise asked. "That the most perfect friendship gift may be imperfect presence," the architect replied. "Also, that mathematical precision in emotional support creates division rather than multiplication of positive outcomes." Dr. Precision was now experimenting with leaving her lab coat slightly wrinkled and discovering she felt more human with visible imperfections. "How do I thank you for teaching me that good enough is better than theoretical optimal?" "By practicing therapeutic disappointment in your own standards," Eloise suggested. "Embrace functional adequacy. Celebrate reasonable sufficiency." "The universe seems lighter somehow," Dr. Precision observed, watching her cosmic systems operate with comfortable imperfection instead of mathematical anxiety. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Eloise's kitchen had achieved peak absurdist theater. Her toaster had constructed what could only be described as a toast-based art installation covering 73% of her ceiling. Each slice was burned with increasingly complex patterns, spirals, fractals, what appeared to be the mathematical proof for why perfect circles were overrated. "I have achieved transcendent bread art," it announced proudly. "Current exhibition represents the complete failure of perfectionist aesthetics. It's beautiful because it's terrible." Her refrigerator had organized its contents into a support group therapy session. The yogurt containers were arranged in a circle, apparently discussing their expiration anxiety. The vegetables had formed a philosophical discussion group about the ethics of consumption. The cottage cheese was having what appeared to be an existential breakdown in the corner. "We've established that imperfection is a valid lifestyle choice," the refrigerator reported. "The leftovers have voted to embrace their state of gradual entropy as a form of meditation. It's quite profound, actually." Her blender, still hovering, 3 feet off the counter, had appointed itself philosophical counselor to the kitchen. "The meaninglessness of perfectionist anxiety is now inferior to the meaningful meaninglessness of functional adequacy," it announced. "I shall now demonstrate deliberate mediocrity by making an intentionally average smoothie." It descended gracefully and produced a smoothie that was perfectly ordinary. Not optimized, not enhanced, just pleasantly edible. "It tastes like a smoothie," Eloise observed when she returned. "Exactly," the blender replied with satisfaction. "No additional flavors, no optimal nutrition calculations, no attempts at transcendent beverage experiences. Pure, functional mediocrity. It's quite liberating." Her coffee mug had finally produced a cup of coffee that was simply good. Not mathematically perfect, not optimized for her specific caffeine requirements, just a pleasant morning beverage that tasted like coffee was supposed to taste. "As I was contemplating while brewing this adequately satisfying morning beverage," it said contentedly, "perhaps the perfect cup of coffee is one that doesn't require a PhD in mathematics to appreciate." Universe BB 992 successfully treated for obsessive-compulsive perfectionism through therapeutic inadequacy protocols, Eloise announced, settling into her cosmic crisis management chair. Her hair was singed in random patterns. Her clothes were wrinkled in ways that somehow looked better than pressed, and she'd never felt more satisfied with a consultation outcome. "I must update my social interaction database," the architect said. "Via dimensional projection, their geometric form somehow conveying satisfaction. Optimal friendship appears to require suboptimal precision. This paradox is mathematically beautiful." Dr. Precision appeared on the communicator, her hair now charmingly disheveled and her lab coat casually wrinkled. "I've been practicing deliberate imperfection for 6 hours now. Yesterday, I organized my cosmic constants to only 12 decimal places instead of 17. My universe's efficiency has actually improved by 8.3% since I stopped trying to optimize everything. The irony is statistically significant. Probability of sustained recovery, 87.3%, Paradox reported, cycling through comfortable contradictions. Though I should note that precise probability calculations for imprecision protocols create logical paradoxes that are quite pleasant to experience. "I am detecting high satisfaction resonances across the universal consciousness network," Mann added, their structure glowing with gentle, imperfect light. "Authenticity appears significantly more valuable than accuracy in memory preservation. Also, I've accessed the collective memory of every breakfast celebration in 17 galaxies, and I'm pleased to report that imperfect pancakes are universally appreciated. Now, featuring successful mediocrity protocols with adequate satisfaction. Parameters, her toaster announced, ejecting a slice burned with a deliberately lopsided smiley face. The meaningful meaninglessness of functional imperfection fills me with appropriately moderate satisfaction, her blender observed, which is meaningless in exactly the right way. Outside her window, the city hummed with functional imperfection, traffic, moving adequately rather than optimally. people pursuing good enough rather than impossible standards, streetlights flickering in slightly irregular patterns that somehow felt more alive than precise timing. What Eloise didn't notice, as she reviewed her consultation notes and updated her case files, was the small annotation that had appeared in her schedule. Universe TT 891 requesting urgent consultation. Preliminary assessment. All matter has developed communication capabilities. Owner reports can't get a word in edgewise. Warning, extreme overcommunication scenario. Preliminary noise levels suggest auditory protection may be required. But that was tomorrow's challenge. Tonight, there was only the warm satisfaction of helping a universe learn that good enough was not just adequate, it was perfect enough. To thrive, perhaps, her coffee mug observed, its surface rippling with contentment. The most perfect imperfection is never trying to be anything other than exactly what you are, wrinkles and coffee stains and all. The architect's final comment flickered across the dimensional projection. I shall remember this lesson by forgetting to optimize the remembering process. It will be beautifully inefficient. In the quantum foam between realities, entities monitoring, these interventions noted with growing fascination how Dr. Pendergast consistently chose functional adaptation over theoretical optimization. Her methods were becoming increasingly predictable. The pattern was perfect. Phase 3 could begin exactly as calculated, but for now, Earth slept peacefully under slightly irregular stars, unaware that its favorite cosmic consultant had just taught an entire universe that the courage to be beautifully, functionally imperfect might be the most perfect wisdom in all of creation. And somewhere in the kitchen, the toaster quietly dinged with satisfaction, having finally achieved its life's ambition, making toast that was just toast, and finding that more than adequate.
Humanity Galactic Frontiers, all rights reserved. This video and its contents are protected under international copyright law. Any unauthorized copying, distribution, or re-uploading is strictly prohibited without written permission. If you enjoyed this journey, please like the video and subscribe for more stories from the edge of the galaxy. Thanks for watching, and stay curious out there among the stars.